Hello.
There's a light in your eyes, shining.
Hey, it's Keely Morgan, and I'm so glad you joined me today on Getting Older and Growing Bolder. Today we're going to talk about ageism and stereotyping in a few areas: the workplace, technology, and a few others. Ageism. It may be the least talked about ism of all, which is kind of ageist, in my opinion. So, excuse all this, please. I just got back from the gym and the grocery store. Because why? We're about to have a freeze in Austin, Texas. Cold front coming tonight. And so what we do is we all go to H-E-B, our favorite grocery store, and we buy about 2 months worth of provisions because we are terrified about the cold. So when I pulled into H-E-B, I noticed that there was a very old lady in the parking lot. She looked a little distressed, pushing a basket. She must have been at least 90, I kid you not. And she couldn't find her car. She kept looking and looking, and I was like, I'm going to help her. So I got off the phone. I was always on the phone. And I went to help her find her car, and she found it pretty quick after I got out. And we had a nice chat, and she said she never goes to the grocery store by herself, so she just wasn't used to that. So anyway, I go on in and do all my shopping. I spend way too much money on all the provisions, and they're already about out of toilet paper and everything else. 14 cans of soup, whatever else I might need for the next, 3 days that it is going to be below 40 degrees. And anyway, I walk out of the grocery store. I can't find my car. I'm like, oh shit. I can't find my car. So I started to think, the fact that she couldn't find her car doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the fact that she was about 90 years old. It happens to everybody. In fact, I remembered a time, I think I was in my 20s, when I came out of the mall, and it was a giant mall with a giant parking lot. And I could not find my car for like a half an hour. It was blazing hot. And I ended up contacting security because I thought my car had been stolen. So the point of the story is, first of all, my car had not been stolen, and the security guard helped me find it. And that was in my 20s. Well, I may have been smoking weed, I don't know, but in any event, why do we make assumptions when certain things happen that it has to do with someone being older? I'm kind of damn tired of it. It rears its ugly head, especially with regard to technology. Do you think anybody in their 20s, 30s, 40s ever has a technical problem with their phone or their computer? But let me have it, at the ripe old age of 62, and it's because I'm older. Well, I call BS. So, in terms of learning to use a computer, which really consists mostly of learning to use whatever software you're using, because most of us can turn a computer on and off. Younger people who were born with a laptop in their hands or a phone in their hands, they are super users. We may take a little bit longer to learn to navigate a particular website or a particular software. But what younger people don't understand is that technology was built on our backs. My career, we were always having some sort of computer conversion, as we called it back in the day. And when we started to go to web-based technologies for software, we were the ones stuck in middle management hell that had to build and work with the programmers to manage these projects, to lay out the specifications for the project. You know the drill. If you worked in the corporate world for even a year, that's all that was a huge part of our jobs, was managing the technology, helping our IT people build the technology to help us do our job. So we understand a little about what's going on the back end. Before I click on things to where I want to go on a website, I'm taking in the entire interactive experience. Do you ever have someone looking over your shoulder when you're trying to do something online? Maybe you're trying to move your money around in your bank account or pay a bill, and someone's looking over your shoulder like, click there, click there. You just go, and they think you're being slow. We're not just slow because we're older. We're slow because we're thorough. Now, there I go stereotyping us because we are all different. And that's what I'm accusing other people of doing. But you get my point. There's usually a reason why it's taking us longer to do something. It has something to do other than age. Have you ever experienced ageism in the workplace? And if so, do you just brush it off as being, that's just the way it is? And do you remember having engaged in it yourself? I know I did. How much ageism is in a workplace depends largely upon the industry you're in. I worked in the advertising agency world for a while, for a long time, for 12 years. That has got to be one of the most ageist places to be. We literally had this one week where Austin has a major, major music festival that goes on. I mean, it's big. And it was like a badge of honor that all of the young people, which was about 90% of our staff, was going to go to that thing. And they weren't going to be at work on Friday. So my bosses came to me and a couple of other people and said, now you'll be here tomorrow, won't you? And we were on a huge project, a huge client on a huge project. But there was it was just given that these kids were going to get off work and go to this music festival. And it was just given that those of us who didn't look like we were 20 to 30 years old, we're not going to go to the music festival. Well, sure enough, I stayed and worked, pulled almost an all-nighter. They were treated like heroes, like it was just an important badge of honor to go to this music festival. And how do they know I don't want to go to the music festival? I like going to music festivals. Here's another example of where the stereotypes bring us down. As you get older, you become more at peace with yourself and the changes that are going on. It ain't always easy. Sometimes I freak the F out when I realize the changes that are going on in my body and my mind. But a big part of why we might show up looking like this is because we have learned to not care so much about what people think. I'm just in the beginnings of that, and boy, is it freeing. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to show up like this to a client meeting. I'm showing a big-time luxury house tomorrow, and I'm not going to show up like this. But if I needed to, because I was coming directly from the gym, I might. But, dress properly for an occasion. But, in the past, I wouldn't have gone to the store like this. But a lot of people will see an older person that's not exactly dressed to the nines, or their hair's back in a ponytail, and they're, wearing really comfortable clothes. It's not because we're so old that we've forgotten how to dress. It's because we've realized what's truly important. And worrying about how you look every second of the day is not something that's important. Again, I'm stereotyping. Not every older person wants to go around being in comfortable clothes. I know plenty of women who dress to the nines all the time, up in their 80s. That's fine. I'm just saying, when you see someone who doesn't, don't assume it's because they're just too tired or too poor or too put upon to get up and put on the nice clothes. It may just be what we chose to do that day. I sound really bitter, and I really don't mean to be. That just hit me this morning when I saw that old lady looking for her car, and then realized that I couldn't find my car at the mall when I was 25 years old. And I stereotyped her. We all do it. it's a constant, not having any of the ists, whether it's racist, ageist, gender orientationist, whatever it is, it's a constant journey. And the first person who says they're never racist and never ageist is not making progress on that journey. Okay, and this is a tough one. Have you ever noticed, or have you started to notice yet, that no one notices us? No one sees us? It ain't fair, but that's reality. It's a young person's world, and I can show up, especially like if I'm at a bar or something. They're going to wait on all the young men and women, and I'm going to be sitting there, trying to get the bartender's attention. And then, finally they might get me a drink. And God knows I need my drink. Thank you for watching this video. I know it was a bit of a rant and rave session about ageism and stereotyping, but it's just ironic that that is the least talked about ism when it's the one thing that all of us, if we live long enough, are going to experience. See you next time. Hello.